too. What's up, Long Players? Welcome back to the Long Play Listening Party, the show where we go deep on local music, writing, recording, inspiration, gear, and whatever else sounds good to us, which today is the best music we heard this year. Most of it will have been released this year, but some may not have been, and that's part of the fun. I am joined by my co-host, Nate Holt. What's going on, Nate?
What's up, everyone?
Jerett Fulton, welcome back.
Hey, everybody. What's up? Bless up.
Returning guest, Rob Spector out of Brooklyn. What's going on, Rob?
Delighted to be here, gentlemen.
And we hear every bit of that SM7 right on your voice. It is beautiful. It's silky.
Through that,
it's deep.
through that. Yes, through the warm tubes of this tasty Behringer X-Air.
Oh, you didn't have to admit that.
Hey, it powered on.
Hey, man, there's no shame. I live in New York. I don't get to have big gear.
If it powered on and it's Behringer, we're pulling for it.
Yes.
So here, I think we'll start. We'll each do maybe a couple of records. It's helpful, I think, to go one or two at a time so that we have time to talk about them a little bit, what you loved about them, if you have a story. Jerett, I'm going to ask you to go first in just a second. So if you want to pick a couple of your favorites, I know we've all got a bunch. Myself, I'm attempting to listen to over 200 albums. I started in early November. So far, I've picked 20 favorites and 27 honorable mentions, which will be on my blog at MrFuriousRecords.com. I won't be talking about all those tonight. I'll be picking here and there and kind of picking genres maybe that we haven't touched on yet to make sure that we've got some genre diversity. But, Jerett, why don't you hit us with one or two or three?
Sure. I'm just going to go in order. I picked 10 with one that my label released this year. I saved that for 11. I had to put that in there.
Absolutely.
These are records that I love in all kinds of ways. Records that I got to be a part of, or records I just loved from afar as a listener. So we're going to start with Surprise Chef. It's this group on Big Crown Records, their new record called Education and Recreation. And honestly, this album sounds to me like they just have the best taste. They have the best ears, and they know how to deliver it through their instruments. And it kind of sounds like some deep 70s catalog stuff, some more obscure, funky documentary, soundtracks from back in the day. But it's done with such care and such taste and the utmost fidelity. So this one took my record of the year. And it's only been out for about 2 or 3 months. But I've been listening to the 7 inches, ramping up to it, and some leaks and stuff like that. So I was really, really excited for this. And it came off of just a stellar record that came out last year. So my number one record is Surprise Chef. Yes, sir.
Surprise Chef. Is that a group you followed for a while? How did you discover them?
So most of these releases this year for me are from a long time following a bunch of labels. There's, from Karma Chief and COLEMINE, Big Crown, SUBPOP, Dead Oceans, Love Soul, CHIEFDOM. These are all labels that I've been following for a long time, and I pretty much can blindly pick up a release. That's the trust that I have for the tastemakers at these labels. But yeah, so anything on Big Crown is going to be right up my alley. They've yet to fail me, and so it was an easy score. And I recommend everybody check it out. It's all season music to me. Any time of the day, any time of the year. And it is an instrumental.
You want to do one more?
Yes. Yeah, we'll go with Ghost Funk Orchestra, A New Kind of Love. That's on a COLEMINE subsidiary called Karma Chief. And I've been following them for the last couple of records. I think I started getting into them on their 7-inch series a couple of years ago. Again, some deep, raw cinematic funk. And definitely one for late nights. It's a good late night listen, and I recommend this for everybody of all styles.
Outstanding.
What do you feel is the best track off of A New Kind of Love?
Oh my gosh, I'd have to pull up a track listing to be honest with you. Let me get back to you so I don't hold up the broadcast here.
So Jerett has a ranked list. I do kind of tiers. Rob, what do you do? And do you want to give us a couple?
Well, I really just have everything in the same bucket because the year that was 2022, I feel musically, and I would love to hear what you guys think. Coming out of the pandemic, we have a new level of professionalism that I don't think I've heard from a lot of these bands before. Like, they did the COVID project like ragtag, trying to, string together something to make the rent. And this year felt like a year where everyone was like, I need something I can tour behind, and I need something that is absolutely going to blow up in a big way. And when I think about a record that is a step function for a particular artist or a particular band, the debut by Orville Peck on Columbia really stuck out to me this year.
Nice.
Growing up in Kansas, everyone in my family, when I was starting to learn how to play guitar, were playing, a lot of Sun Records stuff, but the stuff they were listening to were the very first country artists from Nashville that started to sign with New York labels. And so you think about those early George Jones records when he was on a major label that had this like lush orchestration, like huge, 40-piece orchestras behind it, like really, 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 really big sounds. This Orville Peck record, Bronco, taps into that sound in a way that I unexpectedly vibed with, in a way that I didn't think. I'm not a big country consumer as a general rule.
Right, but those are always fun when something catches you by surprise.
And it's true. And this artist is way out there, wears a face mask, and has a really it seems like the presentation may border on parody if it was not executed at the level of technical excellence that is executed at. It sounds amazing baritone singer. The songs are terrific. Highly recommend Kalahari Down or Daytona Sand if you're ever going to give the record a quick spin. But when I think about an artist that used 2022 to step up the game in terms of production value in songwriting, Orville Peck is definitely one of the ones that's on the top of that list for me.
And you've been on Orville Peck for a while, because I remember you recommending Peck to me. Oh, maybe sometime when you were passing through, when we were walking around my neighborhood, and I remember that's one that you mentioned.
Yeah, it's definitely an artist I've been following for a while. This new record, I don't listen to a ton of stuff on Columbia. I don't listen to a ton of stuff on major labels as a whole. But this is one of the circumstances where you can feel and hear the production value that being on a major label brings in a way that is missing from a lot of the music that I generally consume. And same songwriting style, same really gripping lyrics, same like amazing baritone voice, but in a entirely different context. And there are a couple records that fit this mold for me. The new Interrupters record was really incredible, and it's the first one that the band produced themselves, and it sounds terrific. It may be the best sounding like ska rocksteady record of all time. Like the sound of this record, the production value of this record is absolutely unreal. And kind of on the inverse of that, the new Trampled by Turtles, Alpenglow, captures a bluegrass sound that's really highly technical and fairly, fairly advanced, but in a way that feels a lot more authentic than any of like Flecktone stuff or any of the like mainstream kind of bluegrass that you would see. And all the songs are bangers. Every single song is great on Alpenglow. So really for me, 2022, just a record just a year where everyone stepped up their game on the records themselves. And for me, it's difficult to find a tier list or like a top 10. I kind of rated my choices based on how much of a progression it represented for that particular artist.
Gotcha.
That's cool. And I hadn't sort of connected those dots, but I like that story you're telling about why. So I also found an incredible, my list is double what it typically is, and I don't think that
It was
I
a
don't
big
think my
year.
experience has changed that much. I think there's just that much great stuff out there, but I hadn't put together the story about why that might be the case. So I really like that. Nate, are you ready? Do you want to give us a couple records?
Yeah. I don't have the the vocabulary, obviously, other people do, but yeah, I think one of my favorite bands of all time is Moderat. And they released an album this year called More Data. I think it's a really great album. I think it's more of what you would expect, but it's just it just goes further, and it sounds like they're they're just kind of feeling like everything. I think I think it's been like 5 years since they said they are on taking a hiatus. Really enjoyed that record. And then, I mean, I think I tend to just kind of, I'll listen to whatever people recommend. And so, this next record it was released in 2022. I think I have some other stuff that's just, it wasn't released this year, but I've been taking piano lessons, and my teacher anymore recommended this pianist named Aaron Parks, who's been around for a while. He released on Blue Note first in 1999, I believe. And he played played a member. He's a member of the band, and I'm looking at information in front of me. I'm cheating, but I don't care right now. Yeah, but that band included Joshua Redman and Eric Harland. So,
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's a player. But Volume 1 and Volume 2 were released this year on Ahem Records. Ahem. I don't know if that's how you say it. But it's with Matt Brewer and Eric Harland, and I'm not I'm not able to wax poetic about it, but it's if you enjoy really interesting and piano jazz, those two records I would highly recommend putting on your list. They're really entertaining. I listen to them, I mean, back to back, and don't even really realize they're starting over again. So,
I feel like everybody in New York is talking about Aaron Parks right now. Like, he's really blown up this year in a huge way.
So is it kind of experimental, or how would you sort of characterize the?
I don't know that it's experimental. Like I said, man, I'm.
Is there a Mingus thing, like kind of rooted in tradition, but expressive and sort of colorful coloring outside the lines a bit, or?
Yeah, there's some of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish I could be more descriptive, but that just means you should go check out the record.
Definitely.
Nate, do you know if he's part of that crew that's been doing all the Blue Note residencies alongside like Glasper and Chris Dave and those guys? Is that the same?
I can't say for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is.
Okay.
I will say I do walk my dog right by Blue Note every day, every morning, and I see his name on the billboard quite a bit. So he has played there quite a bit in 2022.
I think that's why that sounds familiar. I got to check those out.
Yeah.
I'm writing some notes from all you guys over here. A lot of good stuff.
Which, since I should say Eddie Moore introduced
his
me
new
to
record's
him.
really good too.
Yeah, I was about to say you should. Yeah, I would add that in there because we're not necessarily taking a local focus, but I think I definitely heard some great. Well, we heard some great music all year on the shows.
Yeah,
but yeah,
absolutely. There's plenty of local stuff
really
on my
good
list,
album,
and
too.
plenty of local stuff on my list. And Jerett, you don't have to worry too hard about taking notes because I will link to everything in the show notes.
Okay.
Which is much easier because when I'm editing, I can pause and look up, and so I will find everything, and I will be listening to everything myself in January, at least a song or two from everything. That's just for my own personal. I'm curious about what people mention, and I discovered some favorites. So one of my favorites of the year. I'm not putting this down as an official entry, but it could be. Came from the show last year, which was Thames, which I think Rob suggested, and the Thames EP got the title here. If Orange Was Black, is that right, Rob? If Orange Was a Place, plus the singles and everything, just incredible. And that was something I discovered because someone mentioned it on the show last year. So I'm going to do two quick, and then toss back to Jerett. I do for later. I want to get into the hip hop that's on my list because I think I don't even know what to make of it myself. So I'm interested to kind of go through. I have 6 hip hop records in my best of, and it's a very wide range, and I want to get into that. But for just a couple quick hits, Hammers of Misfortune put out, I think, the metal album of the year like 2 weeks ago. It's called Overtaker. And it has they've covered a lot of territory in their career. A lot of it is kind of proto-metal, 70s influence, lots of organ and kind of Deep Purple types of things. But the members have also done this supergroup lately called Vol. I love the Vol records, which is like this more experimental thrash prog thing. Members of Yob are involved. And anyway, the new Hammers of Misfortune record brings together the best of both worlds. It's almost like 2/3 of a Vol record mixed with the organ and some of the crazy 70s stuff of earlier Hammers of Misfortune. And I think it's just fantastic. I'm going to be listening to that for a long, long time.
Where are they from?
What?
They moved to like Montana or something. I think they're originally from California, San Francisco area, maybe.
Okay.
Wow.
That's very interesting.
Bay Area metal has been dominated by High on Fire for so long. It's great to hear that there's a new entrant to the space.
I could be wrong about the location. So don't quote me on it. I'll put it in the notes. Don't quote me on it.
How would you characterize the metal? Is this like black or thrash or doom or?
So Overtaker is thrash and prog and Deep Purple.
So very technical.
Yes, but loose and live. It has a very live. They're incredible live in the studio type of band. I think they do a lot of tracking live, so it's not mathematical or kind of airless like some prog can be or some technical death can be. It's very organic, timbre wise, and rhythm wise. It's not. I mean, it's precise, but it doesn't feel like super gridded out and It breathes a little bit and it kind of shakes its shoulders and moves around. The other one I want to mention just quick, and I'm as shocked as anyone hearing this is going to be, Tangerine Dream.
Wow.
Put out an album this year called Raum.
What?
Wow.
Raum.
They're still playing?
They're still playing.
Huh.
Edgar has, of course, passed away, but the band that he's been playing with for many, many years has access to all his materials and ideas and demos, and so this album incorporates things he recorded, things he programmed, and then they ran it through other instruments, or and of course overdubbed and added their own sounds, and it's an incredible. It's got classic Tangerine Dream things, and it also feels very modern in some ways, and it's this wonderful meeting of worlds. And it's just delightful. I listened to it several times just to be like, is a Tangerine Dream record in 2022 one of my 10 favorite records of the year? And I'm here to tell you that it is.
Wow.
Amazing.
That is heavy, because that is delicate ground to tread, because I feel like there was a lot of posthumous recycling of demo material this year that was really distasteful. And in particular, I'm thinking of all the Joe Strummer demos that went out this year were garbage. I would be, if I was the artist, I would have been mortified by the quality of the stuff that came out. I am a massive Clash fan. I am a huge fan of the Mescaleros too. All of Joe Strummer's solo stuff, I deeply celebrate. But the blatant cash grab of some of that demo release material that came out this year was really, really tough. So to hear that executed at a level of excellence is really exciting. Now, Tangerine Dream, those are long songs. Those are long songs.
It's not punk rock, Rob. I'm sorry.
If you're going to start with one, what do you think would sell me on this record?
Like Jerett, I'm an album guy. I'd have to look at a track list to tell you. The third one, maybe.
That would be the longest one on the record. That's 19 minutes long.
Okay, never mind then. Try the second one.
Cool.
Do me a favor. Do one and two.
Just put the record on, Rob. Just let it go.
Well, I don't want to give LP a copyright strike, so we're not going to put it on now. But I am making sure that I include all of these on another Spotify playlist, so we'll be able to share that in the show notes.
Oh yes, yeah. Thank you for doing
that, bro. Good luck.
If you put the first two songs on, I remember being captured immediately. So if you're not in by song 2, you can move along. That's enough Tangerine Dream for you. Okay, Jerett, I know you're short on time. Why don't you give us a couple more?
Well, I'm really glad that you mentioned, I think it's Rob that mentioned Higher and Fire. I got my brain thinking. There was a couple of rock bands from the West Coast this year. And but by the way, did you guys see the Sword split? There's going to be no more Sword records. Did you guys see that?
I missed that.
No, really?
They're done. I think the main guy, forgetting his name, is done, and he's moving on to bigger and better things. So no more Sword records. When you said High on Fire, I thought about that. I was like, oh man. And then to circle back from earlier, Rob, my favorite track probably from that Ghost Punk record is called Scatter. But again, like Howie said, these are all these albums. It's all killer, no filler for me. So. Just like Howie, I had to kind of deduce. Yeah, to be honest with you guys, how I put together my list is I just went through my purchases on my Discogs collection this year. That's how I went and found how to try to streamline this up. And because of that, this next record I want to speak on, it hasn't actually arrived yet, but I've been listening to it all year. With vinyl plants, being what they are, you have to kind of, expect delayed in the mail sometimes. But there's this group that I absolutely adore from Portland called Shadowgrass. And you might even, some people say there's a little no wave element to it. At the end of the day, it's just amazing indie pop. But there's it's a little dark. It's a little mischievous. It's just, this record is just so super hooky and catchy, and it's just gauzy, for a lack of better word. It's just very textured and amazing, and just begs for a re-listen. So I definitely recommend everyone check out the new Shadowgraphs record. They have 3 or 4 records out. This new one is everything I've been looking for. The synths are there, the real fat drums, the analog saturation is just a awesome long player. So I had to put that on there. I just emailed you, Howie, because it was not on my list a minute ago. So that one's back on there. And then, I mean, if you want, I could just name the rest of my top 10 real quick, or I could gush after on one record or so, whatever you prefer.
I'll put the list in the notes, but do the gush. Because I think the stories are fun.
God, this is tough, but I'm gonna go with Khruangbin. His new record called Open. If you're into film, a lot of people think he's an amazing filmmaker. He's from Israel. And he goes by Khruangbin. And lately, he and his visual partner have been getting into a lot of AI stuff, like disco diffusion stuff, kind of like way before this whole AI trend. I feel they've been kind of doing this for like the last couple of years visually. But musically, this is kind of like Middle Eastern psychedelic chamber pop, like with a lot of 60s influence. It's very kind of hard to define. It's just one of those records that it is what it is, kind of like no genre. But all the genre are there and all the influence are there. So like when you hear the horns, it kind of makes you think of like Fela Kuti style composition on the horns. But then like the drums make you think of like Ringo just played the fattest break beats or something like that, or like a James Gadsden break beat or something. Like it's very hard to describe. And again, super, super catchy. Like for me this year has been all about like raw, deep funk, deep soul, and melodic earworms. Like I just wanted all the soulful ear candy this year. And so like most of my list reflects that this year. That's kind of like what my heart was digging, what my fingers were digging for. And I'm looking over my list right now, and it's kind of like all under that kind of like no genre umbrella, but they're all there. So yeah, a lot of good music this year, guys.
For sure.
It was a huge year.
Absolutely.
All right. We want to welcome Drew Rudebush to the podcast. Drew, you were muted by default on entry, so you got to unmute yourself here. That's why I'm killing time with your introduction, is to give you a second to unmute yourself. And it looks like you've done it. Congratulations and welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right.
Well, while he comes in, I will exit, and I want to thank you all for letting me share space with you guys, and everyone have a blessed year, and I can't wait to talk.
Yeah, thanks for joining, JR.
Good to see you, Jerett.
Good to see you.
Yeah,
Good
man.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care.
Enjoy. I'll be listening to this soon.
Man.
Yeah.
All right, peace, guys.
Awesome. Well, Drew, we've just
always-
been going like 1 or 2 or 3 albums at a time in a circle, and we're just about ready to change it up. So if you've got something handy, we'll take a couple of whatever you liked this year.
Yeah, I got my Bandcamp list here.
That works. Everybody does it
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. I don't know what you guys have talked about already, but I think Jerett was talking about that Khruangbin collaboration. Is that what he was just talking about with that African guitar player?
I believe so.
He was
Okay.
talking about
Yeah.
Khruangbin,
Oh,
the Israeli.
Oh, Khruangbin. Okay, all right. Yeah, no, well, Khruangbin, they put out a collaboration record with a Malian guitar player, I believe. Yeah, that one's super good.
Cool.
And I have looked at Jared's list, and he was talking about a different,
Oh, okay.
not Khruangbin. He's talking about Khruangbin.
The
So-
Farka Touré. Yeah, all right. Well, Howie, did you mention
that collab? Who was that collab with, Drew?
Guy from Mali named Ali Farka Touré? Yeah.
Yeah, I recognize that name. He's been around.
Yeah. And then Howie, have you mentioned the new Cosmic Ground?
I had not yet.
Isolate. Yeah, that's good as always, doing his thing. I got the double vinyl from Germany. That was expensive as shit.
I bet.
2 red records though is pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, Cosmic Ground. If you're
all
into
right,
that
and
kind of
then-
thing, Cosmic Ground has a very deep discography, and his songs are very
Yeah,
long, and
it's
there's a
all-
lot of them. So
Very consistent.
there's a lot to dig into there. Yeah.
Consistently good. Yeah, very early well, very like mid to late 70s Tangerine Dream.
I did mention the Tangerine Dream record.
Tangerine Dream making a double reference on the LP Best of 2022.
Ah,
It's barely 5 minutes apart.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And let me see if I can pull a different genre in here. One of my favorite bands, Dead Meadow, just put out an LP of like kind of experimental, mostly instrumental jams that I've been enjoying quite a bit. They're an all-time fave of mine.
Yeah, I got the notification that you bought that. That was cool.
Yeah, it's really good. It's got some good jams on it. I got a lot. I mean, some of my favorite bands put out records this year. So the new Dunion, Swedish psych band, always good. This one's got more like electronic music on it. It's different and fun and good. Space Moth. Have you guys ever heard Space Moth?
What's the story with Space Moth?
Tell us about Space Moth.
Space Moth is kind of a solo project. I think this woman, Miriam, is or was a staff engineer at Tiny Telephone Studios with John Vanderslice.
Really?
So she put out a solo record. It sounds a lot like Broadcast. I love Broadcast, so I've been listening to that a lot.
I thought Tiny Telephone was shutting down.
Yeah, they did. But I think he owns several studios. I don't know if she's moved. I don't know. It's a good record.
Sure.
Check it out. Space Moth. No Past, No Future, it's called.
Sounds like a Dark Satellites title.
A little bit, right?
Yeah. Very good.
Cool.
I got more, but I'll yield.
Sure. Yeah. Let's give. I forget, Nate or Rob. It's your turn. One of you. Why don't you? Let's do this. Either order, Nate and Rob. Then let's take a short break. We could come back and do my hip hop thing. How does that sound?
Sounds like a plan.
Rap?
It sounds great.
No. No.
Well, we were talking about
He's gonna debut
jazz.
his next record on the show
I'm sorry.
live.
Yeah. My hair is really fluffy. I just
It looks great. Oh, it looks so good. I want
Yeah,
to
it
say
looks
something.
great.
Yeah.
Looks
I'm
great.
deeply envious. I'm deeply envious of the fluff. It's
part of it's the lighting, but it is extra fluffy from showering.
the horizontal volume is deeply impressive.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like a little more balance vertically, but yeah, it's just that length.
Yeah,
I'm getting a haircut.
I never was able to get the horizontal working. So I just went pure vertical for a lot of years, which Howie could attest to.
I remember a pretty good mohawk. Yeah.
Get that Fresh Prince fade.
Yeah, somewhat. It was not as funky. I will say that. I was just going to mention we were talking about jazz records earlier. My jazz record of the year came from the director of the Preservation Hall Jazz Band out of New Orleans. At the tender age of 89, Charlie Gabriel finally released his first solo record called 89. I think he turned 90 during the tour for it. And, he does I'm Confessing on it, which is like one of his big tunes. But if you're into quality clarinet, it's a very chill record to listen to. And the fact that he finally took the time to put a solo record on wax is great. Everybody from Preservation Hall plays on it at some point or another.
Sure.
So it's definitely worth a great listen. And the guy, I don't, it must be the clean living, but he can still sing and he can still play. It's unbelievable that he's producing a top tier jazz record at the age of 89. That's really something.
Top tier jazz debut.
Well, I mean, it's not strictly a debut. He did have some solo material that was outside the context of Preservation Hall in I want to say in 90, and then there was another like EP in the early aughts, but as a single credited artist, this is his first debut, and it was very special.
Awesome. You want to do one more, or you're leaving it there?
Let's hand it over to Nate.
All right.
Okay. Well, I said earlier that I just, a lot of this stuff is just from playing. I played a lot this year, which is great. Jerett mentioned appreciating the album more, and I've seen a couple people post about that, and I say that because I had played with Arthur Dodge on. He'd released his first record was released 25 years ago this year, and they played a couple of shows to commemorate the release. And even though I'd heard that record before, I was listening to it again and getting to play it, and just started to appreciate the way it was sequenced. Just kind of like the way that it, yeah, it was. So I just, that just kind of made me, start thinking about that more. So I mean, like I said, it wasn't released this year or anything, but I guess I would put that on my list just because it definitely was kind of a, maybe start thinking about albums differently and in a more appreciative way. And then I had gotten to play some honky tonk piano for an event at the Lawrence Art Center, and just getting to go back and kind of dig into some of those older country tunes was great. Like Hank Thompson is one of he's, if you like Western swing, Bob Wills and Hank Thompson are probably the two names that will come up. And so hearing some of his songs, the band leader was a gentleman named Maury Sullivan, who is in the Kansas Music Hall of Fame, and he leads a country, a Western swing band that Hank Thompson had, asked him to continue on with it, which is super cool. So he told the story about it was a song by Hank Thompson called what was it here? I'm gonna find it here. The Wild Side of Life. And
that's his hit. That's his big hit, right?
Yeah, this is a huge hit. And then Dolly Parton, Tammy Wynette, and Loretta Lynn recorded a song called "It Wasn't God Who Made Honky Tonk Angels." And I guess somewhere in this little tiny town in Kansas, and Maury was telling the story at the show. I just thought it was super cool. Just really amazing. This tiny little town in Kansas, it was Hank Thompson, and I think it was either Loretta Lynn or Tammy Wynette. But they were playing a show, and Hank Thompson didn't play that song. And then I think it was Tammy Wynette after him or something. Anyway, he like people were like, well, he didn't play this song, and he gets Tammy Wynette up there, and they sing it together, because that song that the Dolly Parton, Tammy Wynette, and Laura Lynn wrote was a response to this to that song that he wrote, and it's about women cheating, and then the women were saying, well, if men didn't act like they were single when they're not. It was so, yeah. I've got to put some of these some of these songs on my list. I'll send you kind of a summary of it, Howie, so you can include it. But like Floyd Kramer, Last Date, I'd heard that song before, but man, it's such a good song. It's an piano instrumental, and Floyd Kramer is one of the A-listers on those old Nashville recordings. Merle Haggard and the Strangers, Swinging Doors. Man, that song is I don't know. I mean, if you like country and actual country, not like, I'm not talking smack or anything, but not like 90s country or 80s stuff like Alabama or something. But if you like 1966, 70s, 50s country, I would definitely put those on a list of songs or records to listen to because it's good stuff.
Awesome. I love, I'm really looking forward to January when I can dig into all this stuff. And I love the breadth of everything we're discussing. And there are whole worlds, that we haven't really even talked about yet. So that's super cool. Having a lot of fun. Listeners, we'll be back at you next week with part 2. But we're going to let you go for now. We hope you're having a wonderful non-denominational snow time holiday season. And we'll see you in a week. It's been the Long Play Listening Party. Later, everybody.
See ya! Good luck in your fantasy football playoffs.
Out of the black.